Hey guys, it's Zologe here and welcome to the deck profile for the Seraph Knights. This is a deck that revolves around using the Satellar Knight engine as well as the Star Seraph engine to create rank 4s using 3 or more materials, things like Deltaros and Star Seraph Sentry and Stellar Knight Triver to capitalize off of Scepter. Not necessarily saying that you're going to go into Triver with Scepter, but you know, you're basically going to go into the Deltaros most of the time. And this was a deck that wreaked havoc in the OCG because of the Sovereign. This card is really stupid good. And it was limited in the OCG for a reason. And it's just a fantastic card in general. I love this deck. I would have put it on my top 20 decks of all time if it wasn't for the fact that it's OCG exclusive. So I really haven't had much time to play this in real life. But without further ado, let's go into the deck profile of motions as we go along. So first we'll go for one Satellar Knight Regal. This is just to get rid of the biggest trouble this deck has to deal with, which is the Winda. And this guy is a very easy problem solver for that. When he's summoned by any means, you can target one Satellar Knight monster on the field. It gains 500 attack, but it's sent to the graveyard during the end phase. So this guy basically becomes a 2400 beat stick that can run over Winda, and that's what you really, really want. Next we go for one Unikali. This guy is just to dump Satellar Knights into your graveyard. So you're basically going to be dumping the Deneb as early as possible. You want to see this guy early game, not so much late game, but early game this guy is really good. Hence why I'm only running one, because I don't want to see this guy late game. I want to see him one time, and that's the one time I'm going to need him too. So he's basically just one of because of, well, stuff. Next we go for the Triple Scepter. This guy, when he's normal or special summoned, you can add one Star Step monster from your deck to your hand, except himself. And here's the kicker. When he's used for an Xyz summon that required 3 or more monsters as Xyz materials, you can target one card on the field, destroy that target, and if you do, draw one card. So it's a really, really good. It's like stupid good, because you basically go +3 with this guy if you combine it with the Star Seraph Sovereign. This guy is just stupid good. So yeah, next we go for the triple Satellar Knight Altair. This is your main source of the little Satellar Knight loop. You basically summon this guy to summon back a Deneb, so you can go for a search, and then you make a rank 4. Or quite possibly, if you have a Vega available, you're going to be going into Vega, special summon Altair from your hand, special summon Deneb, and then go for a rank 4 replay requiring all 3, namely the Triver or the Deltaros, depending on what you have on board. Next we go for the triple Deneb. This guy is your main searcher. When he's summoned by any means, you can add one Satellar Knight monster from your deck to your hand, except himself. So it's pretty self-explanatory why you run this guy. Next we go for the double Procyon. This is basically just a turbo card. When you summon this guy, you can send one Satellar Knight monster from your hand to the graveyard to draw one card. So he basically speeds up the deck a little bit and then use it for an Xyz summon. So you're basically going to be going from Vega into Procyon, send something like a Deneb to the grave, and then immediately go for a rank 4 play. Mainly your Castel or a Silent Owner's Arc, depending on what you have on your hand. Next we go for the triple Satellar Knight Vega. This is one of the biggest combo pieces of the deck alongside Altair and Deneb to allow you to go into things like Deltaros and mainly Triver. That's probably going to be the one that you're going to be summoning using those particular 3. So you go for Vega normal summon, then you use Vega's effect to special summon Altair, and Altair summons back either a Deneb or a Procyon, depending on what you have in your graveyard, to go then into your Triver or your Deltaros, depending on what you have on board. Next to go for Double Honest. This card is actually pretty good. You know, when you attack, well, when a light monster attacks or is attacked, you can discard this guy, and then the monster that's battling gains attack equal to the monster it battles. So it's basically a guaranteed win in a battle unless other effects are used, and it's really stupid now because it's a 2. It becomes way more consistent. You can actually OTK with 2 of these cards in your hand, and it's kind of stupid. Next to go for the triple Star Seraph Sovereign. This guy was limited in the OCG for a reason. When a when a Star Seraph monster is normal or special summon, you can special summon this guy from your hand. And if you do draw one card, then you can reveal that card, and if it's a Star Seraph monster, you can special summon it from your hand. So that's really good. However, the main way you're going to be using this is going to go into Scepter. Then, if you have a Sovereign in your hand along with a Scepter, you can go Scepter, let Scepter search another Sovereign. The first Sovereign that you had in your hand earlier is going to trigger on the summon on Scepter, special summon itself, allowing you to draw a card. Then you search out your Sovereign. This Sovereign is going to be special summoned from the... it's going to trigger off of the original Sovereign's summon, so you can summon this thing and draw another card, and then you basically go for a Deltaros or a Star Seraph Sentry, depending on how things go. You can also go into Masquerade if you have a rank up card on your hand. So to go with more plus, that is a really stupid combo, I know, hence why it was limited to in the OCG to 1. But we're getting it in the TCG now soon, so that's pretty awesome. Next we go for the double instant fusion. We run Nodin. I don't think I need to explain this any further. Next to go 1 Raigeki. I don't think I need to explain this either. God damn it. I don't think I need to explain this either. Just destroy all monster trip on controls. It doesn't get any simpler than that. Next we go for a triple reinforcement of the army. This is to search out your Denebs or your Altairs. You don't already have the Deneb in your graveyard, so you can set up a loop. And that is just a really awesome card in general. It helps this deck out a lot. Next we go for the 2 rank up magic limited variance force. This allows us to go out into our rank up monsters, namely the giant red hand, the Silent Honors Dark, as well as Umbral Horror Masquerade. So those are basically going to be your main targets for this particular card. It's really fantastic in general. It helps out, and not necessarily, it doesn't help out way too much, but it's still a pretty good card to have regardless. Next we go for the triple Mystical Space Typhoon. This card is just to destroy back row, nothing too fancy there. Next we go for 1 Boundless Trap Hole. This is against Cleese. When they pendulum summon something, you have to activate this to banish it, and that really hurts them, because then they can't really go for their tribute summon play unless they have a Laser Clip on board, which who runs Laser Clip nowadays? Next they go for 1 compulsory activation device. This is just to get rid of monsters that you really don't want to deal with. It's an emergency solution, so yeah. Next we go for the triple Call of the Haunted. This card is stupid in the deck because of Trigger. It basically allows you to go for a second play in case you should be stopped at some point, or it allows you to search out more things with Deneb during your opponent's turn, so you can then go for your Vega Altar combo. Or maybe if you have 2 Denebs in your grave, you can activate this, grab a Deneb during your opponent's end phase, get a search, then go for Altair, get another search, and then go for a rank 4 play that requires 3 materials. Mainly your Deltaros. Next we go for the triple Stellar Nova Alpha. This card is really powerful. When your opponent activates a monster, spell, or trap, monster effect, spell, or trap card, you can send 1 face-up Tellarknight monster control to the graveyard, negate the activation, destroy the card, and then draw 1 card. So this card is basically an Infernity Barrier in a sense for Stellar Knights, but it has a cost instead of a condition, so yeah. Next we go for, in terms of extra deck, we run 2 Nodin. This card should be played as self-explanatory. When it's special summoned by any means, you can target 1 level 4 monster in your grave and special summon it. It's effectively negated though. Your main target for this is going to be the Star Seraph Scepter, so you can go for things like the Altair combos, or just to get a regular normal summoner like with a Regal or something, to go for a Deltaros or what have you, and then just be awesome. Next we go for 1 Umbral Horror Masquerade. When this card special summon, you can target 1 card on the field and 1 spell or trap card on the field and destroy it. And if it has the regular form of it, the Masquerade under it, you get this effect that once per turn during either player's turn, when a monster effect is activated on your opponent's side of the field, you can attach 1 Exceedance Material from this card, negate the activation, and then send 1 random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. And if you do have their opponent's life points, so if you're there at 8,000 from the beginning, they go down to 4,000. That's a huge drop. This card is like stupid good. Next we go for 1 Silent Honors Dark. This is probably the one that you're going to be going into the most out of the 2. Because he's like more generic, I guess, than Masquerade, because he only requires your Arc to be in your graveyard, which he probably will be going to the graveyard anyway, because you're going to be summoning him very easily using the Deneb Altar combo. So yeah, you're going to be going into this guy kind of frequently with this, I'm not going to lie. So he's basically an improved version of this card. When it's once per turn, you can target 1 special monster opponent controls and attach it to this card as a face-up Exceedance Material. When this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard while as Exceedance Material, so you can special summon this card from the graveyard, then you gain life points equal to the original attack of this card. Number 101 Silent Honors Arc must be in your grave to activate and resolve this effect. If this card is special summoned this way, it cannot attack for the rest of this turn. So it's a really good card. And that last part that it can have attack for the rest of this turn, it's not going to be too relevant considering this guy's going to leave the field during your opponent's turn most of the time. So yeah. Next, go for 1 Constellar Diamond. This card is really, really good. It shits on all the dark decks out there, and I just love this card. You can summon this guy during main phase 2 by using a Delta Rose or a Trivor as Exceeds material during a main phase 2. So you can basically go for Trivor, bounce everything back, poke your opponent for 21, activate its effect, make your opponent discard a card, and then go for this. Just to kind of like say, hey, you can't do shit now. It's just a nasty little combo that you can do. Next we go for 1 Giant Red Hand. This is for all the other numbers that we run. We mostly run numbers in this because this card is so good. It's basically a more generic version, I guess, of Umbral Horror Masquerade, except that it doesn't have your opponent's life points, but it works on any card or effect. And it negates all other face of card that is currently in the field until the end of the turn. So that is like stupid good. It helps out immensely against other decks, and it just shits on everything, really. It's like a 1-turn skill drain, I guess you could call it, for everything. Next we go for the number 104 Masquerade. This is just to go into the Umbral Horror Masquerade relatively easily. Next we go for the double Delta Rose. This card is also pretty stupid. When it has Exceeds materials, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when you normal special summon monsters, which means that every single one of the entry hazard cards is completely useless while this guy's on board. I believe Bottomless Trap Hole cannot even be chained to this guy's summon because he triggers on himself. However, so when you summon this card, it's basically a Solemn Warning or Bust if you want to stop him. So yeah, that's a thing. Next we go for the 1 Star Sentry. It's basically just to negate monster effects and have attack. It's not that great of a card, but still, it's a decent light target. But you're mainly going to go into Delta Rose most of the time, but it's still a decent card to have. Next we go for 1 Trivor. This is basically just an all-out card. When you go for this guy, you basically reset the entire board except for himself, and then you get to take away 1 card from your opponent's hand, and then you can poke your opponent for 21, and then you go into the Constellar Diamond during your main phase 2 to make sure that your opponent can't do shit next turn. If they're playing a dark deck, that is. Next we go for 1 number 50 Black Ship of Corn. This card is also really good. Once per turn, you can touch one Exceeds material from this card to 1 face of card. 1 face of monster opponent controls with attack less than or equal to this card. Send to the graveyard and inflict 1,000 points of damage to your opponent. So you basically use this guy to get rid of something that has less attack than him, and then you go into then play the rank up card to go either into this guy right here or this guy right here, depending on how your graveyard looks. Next we go for 1 Castell. This is to get rid of troublesome monsters, and it's a card that you're going to be going into quite often alongside Silent Honor's Arc because of the whole Deneb's Altar engine. Also Arc because I run this and it's a really good card in general. And finally we run 1 Rongamiant because, you know, we can get out 5 warriors easy in this deck, no problem. And he can blow up the board and just say, screw you, opponent, and then poke your opponent in the face for 3,000. And there, my opponent cannot normal or special summon anything for the next 2 turns, I guess. And he cannot, and this guy is also unaffected by everything else on the field. So your opponent can't really do much against this guy unless they have some answer to it already on board. So it's basically a Solemn Warning or Bust. So yeah, that's my deck profile for these Seraph Knights. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm out.